And take a look at this when it comes to the head-to-head matchup with Donald Trump. Our poll is an outlier, and it does differ significantly from other recent polling. But our poll shows Trump with a 9-point lead over President Biden.
I don't know what happened with this ABC poll. I don't know if the people asking the questions were high or the people answering the questions were high.
I have a legal note. Nobody at ABC that was conducting the poll was high.
Man, the coping is real. They're having a hard time understanding why they live in a world where people dare disagree with them. They think Donald Trump should lose every election by a slam dunk. They think that he has no chance, and everybody absolutely despises him, when really it's just about half the nation that absolutely despises him. But they could probably look at their wallets and their bank accounts and say, oh, well, I was doing a little bit better when Donald Trump was president. So when they poll, people find that, yeah, maybe if it's Biden and Trump, do I want maybe Trump being a jerk every single day on the news, but good economic news? Or do I want Joe Biden, who the media tells me is awesome, but I find myself lacking when it comes to financial success? I mean, I think that's how you're going to look at it. You can also look at immigration. Trump was being mean on the border, and I didn't like that. But Biden's just letting people in. That's probably a bigger problem.
The race for 2024. A new ABC News Washington Post poll sounds the alarm for President Biden in a head-to-head with former President Trump. To Washington now, and a new ABC News Washington Post poll which signals trouble for President Biden.
Well, officials here are downplaying these latest numbers, but they certainly are cause for concern for Democrats. Look, President Biden is making the economic recovery the cornerstone of his reelection campaign, but our latest ABC News Washington Post poll shows Americans overwhelmingly just aren't feeling it, that despite easing inflation and low unemployment, Americans really aren't buying into his positive Bidenomics message. Just 30% of Americans.
By the way, it's funny how they view themselves as supposed to be the people that help set the record straight for Biden's failure to get his message across. If only they would listen and see, look, inflation's down, unemployment is low. You idiots, you should be happy about this. And you're not? What are you, stupid? That's essentially the message that they're sending.
Americans approve of his handling of the economy. In fact, 44% of people say they are not as well off now as they were when Biden took office. And on another hot button issue, immigration, the numbers show only 23% of Americans approve of the president's handling of that situation. All of this is leading to a dismal approval rating for the president, now 19 points underwater.
And by the way, that is a big problem. This is something that they're going to have to fight with because it's worse than Trump. And if you're choosing between the lesser of two evils and you dislike what's going on, if more people dislike what's going on with Biden than they disapprove of Trump, there's going to be a problem there. And I think the media is panicking here.
Comes to Biden himself, we know this. His age is a real political problem for him. Right now, 3/4 of Americans, 74%, say that he is too old to effectively serve a second term. And a majority of Democrats say someone else should actually be the nominee, though the party is deeply divided on who that someone else should be. And take a look at this when it comes to the head-to-head matchup with Donald Trump. Our poll is an outlier, and it does differ significantly from
Crapping on your own poll. I love it. I love it. Yeah, crap all over your own poll. This thing we did, garbage. We suck at this. Take us seriously.
Other recent polling, but our poll shows Trump with a 9-point lead over President Biden, while 538's average polling still has Biden up by roughly 2 points. And get this, when we ask people if they think that Donald Trump should be constitutionally disqualified from serving another term, even those who said yes, that Trump shouldn't be allowed to run, 18% of them said that they would still vote for him. So, George, here, this is just one poll. We are still a ways out from the election, but these numbers do show some real weaknesses for President Biden.
Man, does our guy suck? I mean, that's basically their argument. Our guy sucks, and we should absolutely see this problem, and we've got to do something to fix it. So they're saying their guy sucks, and their polls suck. Now let's look at what the folks on The View are saying about whether or not this should all be taken seriously. Sonny Hostin says no. Ana Cabrera, she barks out maybe we should pay some attention to it.
Trump's scheduled trial dates and where they fall in the presidential primary calendar: March 4th, March 25th, March 20th, A judge has yet to set the date for Trump and his 18 co-defendants in the Georgia it's now May 20th. So I'm happy to talk about polls and where people fall when I see that first trial.
It's funny. They don't trust the polls. They don't trust the polls. This is another ABC show, by the way, that doesn't trust a poll. Their own news division did. And this is somehow considered ABC News. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's true. And they don't want to talk about it. Now, it also, I think, shows that they honestly believe that they should be making more out of these court cases and using them to drive down Donald Trump's numbers. And maybe that's what this was all about in the first place. Get him in front of as many judges as possible, get a bunch of convictions, drive down his numbers. I've thought that from the very beginning. Even if the case at Mar-a-Lago seems like there is something there with the classified documents, the rest of this is rather ridiculous. But this is about quality, not quantity. And as I said, Ana Navarro says, yeah, we should maybe listen to these people. But I forgot to tell you that she thinks they might be high.
I'm happy to talk about it then. But until then, nobody needs to be talking about how Biden is doing or anything like that.
Actually, I don't know that we're going to see those trial dates exactly like that, because I think he's going to ask for continuances, and there's going to be delays because of the presidential primary. I don't know what happened with this ABC poll. I don't know if the people asking the questions were high or the people answering the questions were high. But
your coworkers, the people you guys hired to do this, the people. So should we not trust any of your polls, or is it just this one? That's the thing about polls. People love them when they're for them, hate them when they're against them, and then they basically flip-flop on that based on whatever the poll says. This is an outlier, that's true, but crapping all over it because you don't like it just seems such a weird thing to do.
But somebody has got to have been on some edibles or something else, because this poll is just, off the charts. That does not mean that there's not huge red flags here. And what I do know is that you cannot take the Hispanic vote for granted because you're running against a racist. You can't take the woman vote for granted because you're running against a sexual harasser and sexual assaulter. You can't take the black vote for granted because you're running against a racist.
Hey, let's get them all in there. Come on, you got something for trans folks?
You can't take the gay vote for granted because you're voting against a party that wants to ban drag queens. You can't take the intelligentsia vote for granted because you're running against a party that wants to ban books. The only way to run is to run hard, and I think Joe Biden needs to look at this poll, not be afraid of it, but yes, learn from it. People need to feel that the economy is better. The economy is better. Yeah. 2 stronger years of job growth. But it's not enough to say it. People need to feel it.
I have a legal note. Nobody at ABC that was conducting the poll was high.
Well, I think the people who signed y'all's contracts might have been high because this is some dumb nonsense. And look, you can run down the poll and all you want. And there's been plenty of people who do that on both sides, and that's wonderful. You can talk about how Donald Trump is racist and sexist and I believe wants to ban books and hates drag queens or something. You can do all that. But that right there is why you're going to lose. Failing to focus on the issues that actually matter. And you can't just tell me, oh, no, the economy's good and you're just too stupid to figure out. That's not going to work. They know how they feel. They know what they feel. This is why they're having this big problem, is because the arguments they're making just don't make any sense. They just argue and yell and talk about how everyone's a hateful monster or stupid, the intelligentsia. You can't be against the intelligentsia just because you want to ban books. Ana Navarro thinks she's a smart person, which fits because stupid people don't know that they're stupid because, after all, they're stupid, so they don't know. But to pretend that this is the smart set, talking to people who on a Monday morning at noon are at home watching TV and watching this, kind of all that flies in the face of it being for smart people. So let's just chill out here. These people are useful idiots, useful for people like me, and useful to indoctrinate housewives and shut-ins. Okay, that's what this is about. It's the reason why this show exists. But this is not deep thought. The story here, though, aside from all that, Newsbusters put together all these clips very well. The story here is really this. They know there are issues. Ana Navarro had a moment of honesty, probably by accident, when she said, hey, look, there are red flags for Joe Biden here that they need to pay attention to. And calling everyone stupid that disagrees with you or sexist or racist or dumb or any of this stuff, only drives home the fact that you are incapable of engaging in the serious problems that are happening. Drag queens are not a serious problem. Book bans are not a serious problem. Okay, Donald Trump's racism is not a serious problem. You got to remember, at the border, you got issues. Who's addressing that? Nobody. Okay? That's just a simple fact. Inflation's out of control, and you can say inflation's coming down. It's not. It's slowing. There's a difference. People still feel it. They want to go backwards. They don't want to see inflation continue. They look at gas prices. You can tell me they're down $1, whatever, from where you had them at record highs. They're still higher than they were. And telling people that you should be thankful for that is not going to work, and that's apparently their message. You should understand the economy's good, and if you don't, well, you're just hanging out with a bunch of people who want to ban books and hate drag queens. That is not going to work. Okay? Until people feel better about the economy and actually feel better about the economy, you're going to have a hard time pushing this stupid message that Joe Biden is better because Donald Trump sucks. And that's basically what they're going to have to do. But if you don't have an economy that is firing and you don't have all these other issues resolved like the border and stuff like that, then you're going to be having a conversation about those things instead of having a conversation about how terrible Donald Trump is, which apparently is the only way they think they can win. They may be right about that, but it is obvious to me that they thought that Joe Biden, being the old lovable lunch pail Joe, was going to ride them to 2 terms in case Donald Trump came back. Well, the shine is off that apple, okay? He is not lovable lunch pail Joe. He is an angry, bitter, sad liar who is compromised and corrupt. And as much as they tried to hide that from people, people saw through it. Now they have to deal with it, and it could lead to a different election outcome.